Welcome back. Fort Polk's own 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division, is training at the JRTC this month in preparation for its upcoming deployment. News Channel 5's Lydia Magianos caught up with the 230 Wild Boars to learn more about today's Army infantry.
In T.R. Fehrenbach's book, This Kind of War, the Korean War veteran said, in the 1950s, Americans rediscovered that you may fly over a land forever. You may bomb it, wipe it clean of life, but if you desire to defend it, protect it, and keep it for civilization, you must do this on the ground by putting your young men into the mud.
In the modern context today, the men and women assigned to 230 Infantry are those soldiers that you're going to put in the mud to make sure that you can take ground for the United States.
Lieutenant Colonel Casey Welch, commander of 2nd Battalion 30th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division, quotes Fehrenbach to describe the infantry, which he calls the heart of the Army.
It's a very unforgiving line of work because you carry what you're going to need into the fight, including his ammunition, the food and water, and if you can't sustain yourself, at least for the 24 to 36 hour period, then you're not going to survive.
3rd Brigade has spent the last 10 months preparing for deployment later this year. The unforgiving free play environment of Fort Polk's Joint Readiness Training Center is where that preparation is tested at every level. Lieutenant Colonel Welch jokes that Murphy's Law was born out of the infantrymen's experience.
Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Much of our mindset going into a fight is taking as much of that margin for Murphy to get inside of our formation away from him, to just be as deliberate and disciplined about our approach down to the most basic task.
And the current task is to defend against a fictional enemy. 230 is tucked away in the woods, prepared for the opposition force or Geronimo to attack.
We're just making sure things are secure out here and everyone can do their job effectively, peacefully, without anybody interrupting them. It could be anywhere from 24 hours to 5 days. It'd be there for 12 hours, really. It just kind of depends on the mission.
Just waiting for the word so we can move on out and go get them.
Tactical maneuvers are essential, but Lieutenant Colonel Welch says the real fight is maintaining the soldier.
It comes down to a pretty simple equation in terms of metrics and time of water, fuel, ammunition, but a much more complex equation in terms of how do you get that essential materiel to the man who's in the fight at the right point.
An infantry battalion consists of 3 rifle companies along with fire support like machine guns, mortars, and other mechanized assets. And it's the battalion commander's job to synchronize all those elements.
My real role is to see far enough into the fight to be able to get the rifle companies in the position where they need to be.
And Lieutenant Colonel Welch can't see without the reconnaissance platoon, known as the eyes and ears of the battalion.
Just to give them a better idea what they're going to be walking into, so they don't stumble onto a tank or a larger force than they're planning on dealing with.
Staff Sergeant Joshua Clark says his soldiers are sent before the line units to observe and report.
A big reason why they stood up our platoon initially was just so we could have that early warning system, like for JRTC, downrange, whatever the case may be. Our BC has that direct line of communication to us, and like a minute or two could make the big difference between winning and losing.
Because Staff Sergeant Clark and his soldiers are expected to stay several steps ahead of the enemy, soldiers have to pass selection before being assigned to the recon platoon. They work on foot in tough terrain and usually move at night.
You're walking with 70 pounds of weight when it's hot outside through all this thick stuff. At night, you get really tired. You walk through the stuff that no one else will walk through. You push further on less water, less food, no sleep.
Sergeant Daniel Bach is part of the recon platoon sniper section, an invaluable asset to the battalion.
One sniper could effectively hold down an entire enemy company of soldiers. It turns down their morale, like, you take out one of their guys.
But getting to the objective is only half the battle. Sergeant Bach says it's not enough to just be a skilled marksman. He and his team have to blend into their surroundings. Snipers don a ghillie suit and set up an FFP, or final firing position, which can take 1 to 4 hours.
You're standing out in the grass. You can't use like leaves or like tree leaves or something like that. It doesn't make sense. It's got to make sense. We camouflage our equipment with rubber bands, and we camouflage ourselves with our ghillie suit and natural vegetation.
Once camouflaged, the sniper has to stay concealed for long periods of time.
If you're a sniper, there's other snipers out there. They're going to be looking for target indicators like trees that are out of place, dead vegetation.
And while it takes an army to support the infantrymen on the ground, soldiers like Sergeant Bach don't mind being in the mud.
Rather get out, get dirty, face paint, not change your uniform for 2 weeks, you know. Eat MREs, it's great. I love it.
On Fort Polk, Lydia Magallanes for News Channel 5, your local station.
Very cool story, and our Lydia Magallanes will continue to track the 3rd Brigade's rotation at the JRTC for the rest of the month. Well, just over half of Fort Polk's 3rd Brigade combat team is getting set. The 3rd Brigade Combat Team 10th Mountain Division is getting set to head overseas this fall.
As News Channel 5's Lydia Magallanes tells us, Vernon Parish is no stranger to deployments, with a long history of supporting troops.
The Mustard Seed, a restaurant right off of Post known for its home cooking, has fully embraced what it means to be a business in a military town. For months, they've been preparing for the deployment of more than 2,000 soldiers this fall.
Now the families have already started leaving. You can tell it with, how many tickets and everything.
Owner Diana Bergman, once a military spouse herself, says she gets attached to the Fort Polk soldiers and families that eat at her restaurant, and many of them grow to love her too.
They brought me the flag that was flown in Afghanistan and brought it to me.
Warm hellos inevitably become tearful goodbyes.
And they hug me goodbye and tell me that they love me and that they're going to miss us and can I send food to them? And so I said, well, just pack me, put me in your suitcase and I'll go with you.
The restaurant was around the last time 3rd Brigade Combat Team 10th Mountain Division deployed, and Diana already knows what to expect: a dip in sales and the loss of some employees.
I have some that are married to military and they have to go home. They say they don't want to stay here when they're gone 9 months. We have to cut back on what we're going to buy and purchase because we don't have to purchase quite as much, because even my suppliers, they say, boy, it's impacting me.
But there's more than just comfort food at this restaurant. The door is always open to military families.
We love our soldiers. We love the wives that come in here, even the kids. I got kids that come in here that call me Meemaw.
As for her business, Diana says faith takes care of the rest.
The Lord says, a little bit of faith, size of a mustard seed, and that's what we had, and we opened the restaurant. Y'all have a blessed day, guys. Thank you.
In Leesville, Lydia Magallanes for News Channel 5, your local station.
The mustard seed has been around for about 6.5 years. Diana says many soldiers that deployed and military families that have moved away still keep in touch with her.
Well, Fort Polk soldiers are deploying this year in support of Operation Inherent Resolve.
News Channel 5's Lydia Magallanes was in Alexandria for one of the flights and has more.
More than 2,000 Fort Polk soldiers in the 3rd Brigade Combat Team 10th Mountain Division are headed to Iraq this year. Getting troops from point A to B is an hours-long process, but there's another brigade that supports deploying soldiers in Alexandria armed with snacks.
Appreciate your service, guys. Get your beer right here. Ice cold beer right here, guys. Ice cold root beer.
The Apple Pie Brigade hands out the popular McDonald's pastry and soft drinks, likely the last American snack soldiers will have before making the long trek overseas.
Put it in your pocket. You've got a long way to go.
Every day I pray for our military.
Omega Dobard and her husband joined the team a decade ago. Having grown up with a dad in the Air Force, Dobard feels honored to offer a small comfort to deploying troops.
My dad was deployed so many times, and he wasn't there for my brother's wedding. He only got home a few days before my wedding. He was in Vietnam, so yeah, I think about them and I know what their family's going through.
Then each patriot gets a firm handshake from Sergeant Major Alvaro Petrus, 310's Operations Sergeant Major.
It's the last time that they actually get to see American soul before they take off.
Recalling his own tours overseas, Sergeant Major Petrus says it's a gesture of encouragement, especially for young soldiers.
You see confidence, and you also see curiosity in their eyes as they step on the plane. And when I shake their hand, I smile. Sometimes I can't help it because I remember the first time I did it. Very proud, wondering what's ahead of me, relying heavily on the folks left and right of me, the men and women. When I shake their hand, I'm hoping that when I give them that squeeze, that it's a seal that, hey, everything's going to be okay.
In Alexandria, Lydia Magallanes for News Channel 5, your local station.
And my good friend Sarah Simmons started the Apple Pie Brigade about a decade ago. They'll be handing out snacks again when soldiers return from their deployment.
Well, over the last couple months, soldiers with the 3rd Brigade 10th Mountain Division at Fort Polk have been deploying to Iraq. Behind them are the families staying here, including lots of kids who attend North Polk Elementary.
And that's why the school held a deployment remembrance ceremony this morning with yellow ribbons to show support for families of those soldiers. Here's News Channel 5's Lydia Magallanes.
In the military community, yellow ribbons symbolize the anticipated return of deployed troops. At a ceremony Thursday, North Polk Elementary students wore those ribbons proudly and tied them around trees lining the entrance to the school.
Right there.
About a third of the school's students have a deployed parent. Spouses with the 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division, say explaining deployment to young children can be difficult.
Daddy's, not going to be here for your birthday or for Christmas. You just tell them, like, this is just part of Daddy's job. We're free because of, men like Daddy and women like Daddy.
But on the days the little ones miss Daddy the most, Krista and Kyla say watching videos of their soldier always cheers them up.
Most of the time it's like him dancing or whatever, and I'll play the song while they're watching the video on the TV, and they'll just dance to it and get back in that moment.
And maintaining those smiles is a cause close to Rachel Steele, also a military spouse and North Polk's military family life counselor.
When the glitter fades, everybody's there when the deployment first happens, but then we go on with our everyday lives and we forget about the sacrifice the spouses and the families are making.
That's why the school will have activities like the Yellow Ribbon Ceremony every month until soldiers come home.
If you can have a good support around you, it makes it a little easier to get through the day, and you don't feel as isolated. And your family might be 14 hours away, but your Army family is just right down the street.
You gotta push forward and keep going, and the more you don't think about him being gone, the faster he'll be back.
On Fort Polk, Lydia Magallanes for News Channel 5, your local station. No deployment is easy, but the separation can be especially difficult for military families during the holidays. Over the Christmas weekend, News Channel 5's Allison Basil and I caught up with the wife and 3 daughters of a Fort Polk soldier currently serving in Iraq. Here's their story. It's Christmas morning, and Lillian, Ava, and little Lena can't wait to open their presents. But among the flurry of wrapping paper and bows is a cell phone.
You want to show Daddy the tree? You want to open a present?
Dad is tuning in from Iraq since he can't be home this Christmas. Captain Brian Baggett is an infantry battalion chaplain in 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division out of Fort Polk.
What are some things that your dad might have said to you every day? What does he always tell you?
I love you too much. We used to feed each other cookies. I want him to know that I love him too much, too.
Mother Melissa Baggett says although he's away, Dad tries his best to be there in spirit for the holidays. He prays with his family.
Bless my family, Lord.
Reads to his daughters and has watched them open Advent calendars, a tradition the family started in Germany with their first child, Lillian.
Show Daddy you do yours.
Each girl also has a doll with recorded messages from Dad.
I just can't wait to see you. I'm so proud of you, and I love you so very much.
Melissa and her husband, who was previously enlisted in the Marine Corps, have been a couple for 17 years and married for 15.
God is one of the most important things. It's the foundation of our family, and we seek to serve him while we serve our country.
As a chaplain, Captain Baggett is constantly changing locations in Iraq to look after the spiritual well-being of soldiers in the 2nd Battalion, 4th Infantry Regiment.
I know that this door of opportunity was not open to me by accident, by luck, or by chance. It's God's blessing. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to serve the sons and daughters of the armed forces.
Back home, although Melissa's focus is on her girls as they go through their first deployment, she misses her soldier too.
The emotional weight of how you're gonna help your children while you're trying to help yourself through the person that's your life that you love, and he's my heart and he's our girl's heart. I have 3 daddy's girls.
And the family's strength is a comfort to Captain Baggett.
A lot of times you take things for granted, but I realized that without the family, I would not be able to do the things that I'm doing here.
Mom and Dad had one more Christmas surprise for their girls. Melissa says yellow butterflies have become a special symbol to the family after one of Lillian's teachers comforted her the day after Captain Baggett left.
And she said, when I'm really missing somebody, God sends me a yellow butterfly to remind me that they miss me too and are thinking of me. And I kid you not, a yellow butterfly flew right by them on the playground.
It's a little reminder that every moment is a blessing, and the Baggett ladies will continue counting yellow butterflies and the days until Daddy comes home.
We have, since he's been gone, counted 490 yellow butterflies. And that was an answer to my prayer that God would speak to their hearts and comfort them.
In Vernon Parish, Lydia Magallanes for News Channel 5, your local station.